Moses was dead. 40 years of wandering. A generation born in the wilderness. A people who had never known anything but desert sand under their feet. And now, the promised land was right in front of them. But between them and everything God had promised, stood Jericho. Jericho was no ordinary city. Archaeological evidence suggests its walls were massive. Some estimates place them at 15 feet thick and 30 feet high. It was one of the oldest and most fortified cities in the ancient world. And when word reached Jericho that Israel had crossed the Red Sea, that God had parted the waters, the entire city shut down. Joshua 2:9-11 records the words of a woman inside Jericho named Rahab. "I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you." The city was already terrified. The walls were up. The gates were sealed. Before the battle, Joshua sent 2 spies into Jericho, and a woman named Rahab hid them. She was not an Israelite. She was not a woman of high social standing, but she had heard what God had done, and she believed. She hid the spies on her roof. She misled the soldiers who came searching. She helped them escape through a window on the city wall, and she asked for one thing in return. A scarlet cord hung from her window, a sign that when Israel came, her household would be spared. Rahab, a woman the world had written off, became one of the most important figures in the entire conquest of Canaan. Matthew chapter 1 lists her name in the genealogy of Jesus. Then God gave Joshua the battle plan, and it made no military sense at all. Joshua 6:3-5. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the army will go up, everyone straight in. No siege weapons, no attack strategy, no scaling the walls. Just march, blow trumpets, shout, and watch what God does. For 6 days, they marched, once around the city, every day, in silence, except for the sound of the trumpets. Imagine being a soldier on Jericho's wall watching this. No ladders, no battering rams, no catapults, just an army walking in circles. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. The people of Jericho must have laughed. Day 4, Day 5, Day 6. And still, Israel said nothing, did nothing, just marched. God had told them not to shout, not to speak, not to say a single word, until he gave the command. On the 7th day, they got up at dawn, and they marched around the city 7 times. 7 laps. The priests blowing the trumpets the entire time. On the 7th lap, Joshua gave the command. Joshua 6:16. Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And the people shouted. A sound that had been held in for 7 days, released all at once. And the walls of Jericho fell, not breached, not scaled, not knocked down by any human weapon. They fell, straight down, all at once. Joshua 6:20. When the trumpets sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So everyone charged straight in, and they took the city, the most fortified city in Canaan, brought down not by military strategy, but by obedience. In the chaos of the collapse, one section of wall held, the section where a scarlet cord hung from a window. Rahab and her entire household were spared, just as the spies had promised. In a city of destruction, one woman's faith had marked her home, and God honored it. Rahab went on to marry an Israelite. Her son was Boaz. Her great-great-grandson was David. The woman who hung a scarlet cord from a window in Jericho stands in the direct bloodline of Jesus Christ. After the victory, Joshua pronounced a curse on anyone who would rebuild Jericho. 1 Kings 16:34 records that centuries later, a man named Heel rebuilt it, and lost his firstborn son when he laid the foundation, and his youngest son when he set up the gates. Exactly as Joshua had spoken. Archaeologists have excavated the site of ancient Jericho for over a century. What they found was remarkable. evidence of massive mud brick walls that had collapsed outward, not inward, consistent with the biblical account. Layers of ash, signs of sudden destruction. The evidence of Jericho is still being dug up today. Here is what the Battle of Jericho teaches us. God's methods don't always make sense. March around a city for 7 days? Shout at walls? Hang a scarlet cord from a window? None of it fits any military manual ever written. But God wasn't asking Israel to fight. He was asking Israel to trust. The walls didn't fall because of Israel's strength. They fell because God said they would. And Israel believed him enough to look foolish for 7 days. That is the lesson of Jericho. Not that God gives easy battles, but that when he gives the instructions, no matter how strange they seem, obedience is the strategy. The walls always fall. If this story moved you, drop a comment below. Tell us who you want to see next. Subscribe and hit the bell. More biblical legends are coming every week.